One thing that moving to Finland has taught me is the importance of trust in your community. And if we can build that trust into our schools, then I think that possibility becomes real. One of the biggest challenges for innovators is feeling alone in your work. You care so much about something and you develop your ideas, and you don't know if it's going to work, but you hope that you're doing the right thing with it.
Meghan Hammond, project manager at 100, a Finnish organization that champions the work of education innovators around the world, brings a systems level lens to how learning, leadership, and impact are designed. Working with global education innovators and scaling ideas that actually work, she sits at the center of what is shaping education today.
It's something that I have been passionate about for a long time, is really letting student voice shine and giving it a platform. And so if we could do that through the Youth Ambassadors program, that's even better. For me, when we talk about things like scaling, is about not just reaching more people, but really developing your ideas further, iterating on what's working, and then trying to figure out how to make other things work better, taking one problem and looking at it from all different sides to figure out how you can creatively address that in a variety of ways.
So, Megan, welcome. Whenever
Thank
we
you.
meet, I laugh so much. So I don't know how this is going to roll out in a episode. So welcome.
We're going to
Thank you.
laugh a lot. That's going to be a good one.
Thank you so much for being here with me in this episode.
Oh, thanks for inviting me. I'm super excited to join you.
So tell me, what brings you to Finland and why are we here in this particular episode together?
Oh my gosh. Well, it's a long story of how we got to Finland, but I'm from the US. We moved all over throughout my life. And then we got to COVID and we got to wildfires where we lived, and we sort of started looking around and wondering if there was something else we could try. We had a unique opportunity, my partner and I, to look at moving abroad and something different for our kids. So we decided to jump on that. We both come from academic backgrounds. We met in grad school, so we really geeked out on the idea. We made a list of all the different qualities that we were looking for in some place we'd like to live, because we only wanted to move once. Um, and then after weighing all of those, Finland kept coming to the top of the list. So we decided, okay, let's try it, let's go. And we made the leap in 2021, and it's been great. So how we got here was a lot of thought and a lot of researching and a lot of thinking about what we wanted for ourselves and for our kids. And I'm really, really glad that we did it. So yeah, why we're talking now is because I met you through mutual friends on LinkedIn and through my work at 100. And that's been really exciting to get to know what you're doing. I don't know, I just love talking to people like you who are doing really creative, innovative things to help learners really become their full selves, not just in the classroom. So I love that kind of work. So I think that's why we're talking. You could tell me.
That's why you love connecting, like you love connecting with people. And this is why maybe you were positioned in this organization in 100. Tell us more about this organization and how it helps and supports educators.
Yeah.
I want to know more about it.
So 100 is a mission-driven organization based in Helsinki. We have a foundation as well that we just got started a little over a year ago in Geneva. And together we work to identify, amplify, and facilitate the implementation of education innovations around the world. It started for Finland Centennial. I work for 100, which is a mission oriented organization, mission driven organization that looks for great ideas and education innovations around the world. We started about 10 years ago when our very creative and entrepreneurial founders went to the Finnish government and said, for Finland's centennial celebrations, let's find 100 of the most innovative ideas that we have in education in Finland and share them with the world. And it went so well that everyone else felt a bit left out. And we started doing global collections every year since then. So we looked for those most scalable and innovative ideas that we can find that are making an impact in the education world. So from there, we've grown. We do spotlights where we look for particular topics of interest to us and our partners. We have a youth ambassador program for kids that are 13 to 19 years old who are interested in social impact projects around any of the SDGs, doesn't have to be education. And that one we do with International Baccalaureate. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, now with our foundation that just started about a year and a half ago, we are fundraising to help facilitate more implementation projects for more innovators that are working in different contexts, trying to help them find more cases where they could be implemented in new contexts. So it's all really exciting work for me because it means I get to meet people that are doing really great things out there and who might otherwise not have this sort of international platform to get their ideas out there and help more learners. So that's what I love about 100.
How is that going? What have you seen as a development of what you're doing?
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because we look at the trends each year and we try and see, are there shifts happening? Are there things that we could comment on? Right now, funding for innovations is a bit contentious. It's difficult time to be in nonprofits. So we are doing an innovator survey this summer to talk to our community about what they're seeing. A lot of our organizations are pretty small and may not see it immediately, but are thinking about long-term prospects of what that looks like. But we also see all of the other trends that you know about in education through our collection. So we're seeing more AI coming in. We saw a lot more social emotional learning support after COVID, a lot more personalized learning kinds of opportunities coming in. But then we also see things like there's someone I just met this week who's got a new fund he started up to give seed money to kids that want to do social impact projects in his community. He's just found that this was something great as a guidance counselor, that he knew these kids needed something and he's just taken up doing it. And so every time I meet someone like that, it's like my job is worthwhile, like, to see that
Exactly.
there are these big-hearted people out there doing these amazing things. So yeah, every week there's a different topic that we're thinking about and that we're hearing about from our community, and it's really exciting. We have a community conversation coming up next week, actually, all about creativity, and I'm really excited to hear how this group can help innovators think about bringing in more creativity to your work. Because so much of it for me when we talk about things like scaling is about not just reaching more people but really developing your ideas further, iterating on what's working, and then trying to figure out how to make other things work better, um, taking one problem and looking at it from all different sides to figure out how you can creatively address that in a variety of ways depending on the learner's needs. So I love doing that kind of piece as well.
Yeah. And just the fact that you take yourself into the process of submitting,
Mhm.
you see all the aspects of your work.
Yeah,
So
no,
for
definitely.
somebody who is an innovator, they see all the aspects of their work and where they are lacking and what they need to still develop in order to
Yeah.
submit
Yeah,
their application. So they see what they're lacking.
well, and the really great thing is that it doesn't just stop at the submission period, right? So last year we were able to develop an Enjoy tool with Jacobs Foundation, which is a way for innovators to look at their work through a questionnaire and then see on a spider graph the areas that they could be developing further. It's a really great tool for teams to use together to reflect, almost like you have a third party sort of thought partner in the room, but you're all doing this survey together. And then you can see the different gaps that maybe aren't as apparent when you're just stuck in the everyday getting through all of your list of tasks. So we try and work with innovators to continue those conversations, and we want to do more to help them scale in that way. But yeah, no, we're really excited about opportunities when we can work really directly with selected innovators, especially that we know that what they're doing is great. Our academy has reviewed it and has seen so much potential in it, that we want to help them take it further.
If there is a school leader who is listening right now, how can they connect with you? And is there a point in connecting with you? Like, will they find support for themselves, for their students, for what they're doing in their school?
Yeah. Oh, I hope there's a point. No, I'm confident that we would have a great conversation. So one of the ways people get involved at first with 100 is by becoming an ambassador. That's for any adult education enthusiast out there. They'll get our information about calls for submissions, opportunities to review submissions, and community conversations, things like that. So that's one way to get involved. Also to reach out directly to our team. They can write me or they can write our community at 100.org and learn more about how to connect. We have a map on our site where people can find each other through either geographic location, or you can narrow it down by topics of interest to connect with people that way. But yeah, it's a great way to just find that there are other people in the world who care about the same things you do. I think one of the biggest challenges for innovators is feeling alone in your work, right? You care so much about something and you develop your ideas and you don't know if it's going to work, but you hope you hope that you're doing the right thing with it. But finding your people, finding that community to connect with is such a huge bonus for that. That that's for me the magic of Summit, our annual convening of all of these selected innovators, is just that people come there and they say, like literally last year at dinner, one woman sitting across from me said, I feel like I found my people. Where I live, there's 6 of us doing this, and we all know each other, and we all feel like we're the crazy ones. But here, everyone is crazy. Everyone loves the same things, and it's wonderful when you get that feeling that like connecting with someone who cares so much about the same things you do. Even if I don't have any expertise in what you're looking for, I can help you find someone else who does, or find someone who's been down that road already and has developed from there. So that kind of connection we love to make happen, whether it's a school leader, it's an innovator, it's a young person who's just going into teaching college and trying to figure out what they're going to do. Those kind of connections I think are really real and they're really important. So I would love to help make those connections.
How to connect with whom?
Well, thanks. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
very good
fun.
connection.
I've heard that they're creating these bots that will help people find others on LinkedIn and stuff, and it makes me so sad because I'm like, no, don't take the job that I love away. I think finding those little golden nuggets from people of something that sparks their passion, that maybe it's not in their job description, maybe it's not in their profile background or anything, but by talking with someone and you get to know sort of a sense of what matters most, and then you can think of other people that have that in common, like that's the real magic for me. I want to be like a fly on the wall in all of those conversations after I connect people, but I can't. I only have 2 eyes. But it's really fun to watch that happen, and then people start to create new things together. So
Yeah. Great, great. And what about the students? Let's say some educational leaders are listening to you. How can the students contribute, sign up in something and learn more?
yeah. So our youth ambassador program is the best way for students to connect with us. We do 2 cohorts a year, and there's 300 students every year in those cohorts, each cohort. Um, and what we do there is it's a 14-week program for them. They listen to webinars with innovators. They meet up with each other. They have their own youth-led drop-ins where they just come and talk about something they're interested in all together. They find collaborators who want to work on these projects with them, or maybe they just want to get inspired and understand how someone else has done a social impact project. Um, and we love to see what comes out of those conversations. It's really they're on Discord, and when you log in and you see the sort of back and forth, it's so supportive. And that's what I love most about it is we've had students who come in with a very simple idea, or they're on the younger side and they don't really know how to implement something yet, but they have something they care about, and the rest of the group really just comes around. It's like a giant hug, and they're like, oh, tell us more. We want to help you develop that. We want to help you think about the ways you could do that already, or ways that you could contribute. My project is already doing that, so you could join us, and then you could start your own spin-off. Kids that are in different parts of the world learning from each other is, I don't know, it's the best part of the Youth Ambassador program is really those connections that they're making. So we will have, we just had an open call that completed in May. We're right now evaluating all those applications for our fall cohort, but we will have another open application period at the end of the calendar year. So it would be great if students want to come and join us, and for school leaders to help us promote that program. It's something that it's online. We record all of the sessions so they can watch them if the time zone doesn't suit them. We don't want to get in the way of anyone's tests or schoolwork, but adding this on adds a different dimension of why they care about their learning. And so we would love to have more students apply for that. We get so many each year, it's hard to say no. I hate saying no to those students, but it's been a really great experience to work with them. So we've had, I think, over 1,400 so far through our program in the last 3 years, which is, yeah, it's amazing. We didn't know when it started. We had a youth ambassador program before. We revamped it with IB, and this new version of it has just like exploded for us. It's been wonderful, but it really makes you feel like the future's in good hands these are the young people that are going to carry that vision forward. So,
Exactly. And what feedback are you getting from those students? Do
mm,
you remember one specific case?
oh, there's so many. There's, hmm, I'm trying to think of which story to tell. Sorry. There's a girl in India who had a passion for anti-bullying and teen mental health. She launched an app already, and then she's been recognized by all the way up to Modi for her accomplishments. She's doing amazing things. Um, I don't know if she needed us more than we needed her, but she really taught us a lot about how much teens can do and how many different ways that they can get their message out there. So she's really inspirational for me. We've had other students who have taken on topics like um, menstrual health education at their school, and they create a whole festival or a whole bigger conversation for their school around making sure that girls can still go to school. And those are hard conversations, I think, for adults to lead. So to ask yourself as a teenager, why shouldn't I lead this? I think is really bold. And they're amazing, doing really great work with that. So I love seeing those kinds of initiatives. We see a number of students from Afghanistan who really care about girls' education, and the work they're doing there is really inspiring as well. There's such a passion out of that whole region, really, Afghanistan, India, and then we see a lot of students from Bhutan who want to participate and really want to connect with other students in other parts of the world. So each of those stories, we had a student who came through our program, and afterwards we didn't know he was going to do this, but he sent us a video. He had taken all of his learnings from the Youth Ambassador program and created a social impact project development program for monks at a school, at a monastery near where he lived. And he came and he taught them how to create social impact projects. Like, he filmed the whole thing, and we were blown away that he would like get so much from the program. He was using the worksheets. He was talking about all the things we'd done in our sessions together. And it was, I don't know, it was just really sweet to see like this was something that was meaningful and useful to him in such a way that he wanted to share that with students at even another school. It wasn't his school, but it was going and teaching that to others. So the kind of ripple effects you get from working with young people can just, I don't know, they blow me away. So
That's mind blowing, literally.
yeah,
Oh my God. Yeah,
you
yeah,
never know what you're going to find. And
yeah.
sometimes they come up with these great videos afterwards, and you're just like, my gosh, like I had no business teaching you anything. You need to be leading the class. So the great thing is then we recruit them to be youth committee leaders, and the youth committee is about 20 students now. It's grown. It used to be maybe 10, and then it kept getting bigger because we found that more and more of them just really wanted a chance at that leadership. And so they help facilitate the youth-led drop-ins. They do their own workshops on topics that they care about. They help us produce so much social media um, promotion of the program because they care about it. But like they're just so talented at doing that how could you? They're unstoppable. It's been great.
Imagine the impact of those kids 10 years on. How,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, we
that's
already see it actually in the application cycle. So this year we saw so many more students from Peru, for example, that we never reached that many in Peru. But the only thing we could think is there was one student who's from there, and he does really great social media videos, and he's been promoting this program like crazy. And so now we've got this huge, like, they were, I don't know, top 5 numbers of students applying for the next cohort. So it's
wow.
it's really interesting, like how when you allow students to lead and to have their own voice and to have their own agency in a program, they really can do so much with it. And I think that the more opportunities we can give them to find their voice and to take on that leadership, the better it will be for all of us, not just for the students themselves. It's not just their development, it's also pushing these great ideas out into the world. And I think that it's something that I have been passionate about for a long time, is really letting student voice shine and giving it a platform. And so if we can do that through the Youth Ambassadors program, that's even better. That's the point in my mind. And I hope that that continues. So,
Thinking, what if schools were built around this concept?
yeah. Can you imagine? Yeah. I mean, I love to see like project-based learning sort of ideas out there, and these inquiry-based. We did a spotlight recently on child-centered learning, and looked at innovations that really put kids in the center of their learning and let them direct what they're going to look for. And it's inspiring to see that, but I think it's also a challenge to do that in a way that is meaningful and that it's infused through the whole program so that it's not the teachers prompting to let the children lead. It's the children really coming around an idea themselves and taking ownership of that and then developing from there. Um, it has to be that sort of deeply meaningful change that they want to see, not just because a teacher told them they should lead a project, right? So I think if we can get more and more towards a model of that, we see that in a number of our innovations. We've got, these curiosity clubs that are led by volunteers where they're just following students' interests, or there's Yes Fest that are these youth eco summits, and they're going on all over the world. And they're led by these youth ambassadors that are coming out of the UK, and they travel now. They just did one in Central Park and at the UN. It was amazing in New York. But they're the ones speaking there, and they're the ones that are pushing the grown-ups to keep this movement going. So those kind of opportunities are really inspirational to me. But if you
Yeah.
could have a whole school that was really driven by student inquiry, I don't know, that would be kind of wild. But we have a great partner, Tim Logan, who works with Festival of Hope through the IB, and he led a session recently that I went to about systems thinking. And he was saying, we don't want to just funnel learners through. We don't want to put them through a tube and just spit them out the other side. It's about creating space where we can be creative and we can come together and talk together about what learning should look like. And he said, the risk of that is it might be just a big mess. But it might be a beautiful mess. And I've really
Exactly.
taken that to heart this year of thinking about what are the beautiful messes we could create if we just open the doors, open the conversation up, and include more people in them. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be a lovely experiment to see that it's happening
It
somewhere.
takes a bit of bravery, right? And it takes a
Yeah.
lot of trust, And I think
Yeah.
that's one thing that moving to Finland has taught me is the importance of trust in your community. And if we can build that trust into our schools, then I think that possibility becomes real, that you could have those conversations. You could be more open to engaging students in their own learning if you build that feeling of trust. And that has to go both ways, right? So how do we foster more of that? I don't know. I don't know the answer yet, but this is part of the beautiful mess I hope we're creating. So
Structure, but on a totally different level, like structuring the students' scaffolding for them to, because they will find it. They will find it. They
exactly.
just need the scaffold.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's
Great.
true. If we could give them sort of learning goals, these are the
Mhm.
topics that we want you to cover, or this is the level of depth you need to get to when you're working on a project, and then let them run with an idea. I don't know. I think it would be a wonderful experiment to try like something totally alternative in the way we think about learning. So, but I
Yeah.
think they're capable. Absolutely.
They are. They
Yeah.
are. I see it in my own school when I give them, let's say we have 1 month for this particular project. I
Mhm.
see them being totally different people, totally different students.
Yeah, yeah. No, I
But
know when I was in high
how can
school,
I
it was
bring it
rare.
for the whole year?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
another
exactly.
question.
There's a magic to it, right? When it's done well and you say like, "Oh, okay, I want to feel this again." Like it's
Yeah,
addictive. It's such a good thing.
exactly.
Oh, your learners are lucky to have you, I'm sure.
You. So tell me more about Finland. You're in this beautiful setting right now. Is it outside? Is it in your garden?
Yes, I'm in my backyard today
I
because
love
it's
it.
summer and the kids are home. So
I love
I'm
it.
hiding outside. But yeah, it's been really beautiful this summer. Not
What
so
is
hot as you.
summer in Finland like? What is it like?
Yeah, this year at last it seems to be a lot of rain and cold weather, but it's nice. It's a good break from winter and it's very green. It doesn't get super hot. We get to maybe 30 centigrade a couple days out of the year, maybe into the 90s Fahrenheit, but that's about it. Otherwise, it's sunny and calm and it's really lovely. So yeah, we're lucky to live right by the forest and then down the street is the beach. So I go out on the water a lot. Love Finland in the summer. So I would totally invite you to come back and visit again now that the weather's better.
Oh, what's the temperature now? 14, 15?
It's about 14 this morning.
Deep in the summer of Finland.
Yes, I know. It doesn't feel like June yet, but maybe next week.
But you're in your t-shirt. That's amazing.
Well, we can't get them out of the closet in the winter, so we might as well wear it now.
We have heaters on in Greece when it's 14 degrees, just so you know.
At night, the heaters go back on here, but during the daytime, it's
Yeah, I
quite nice to
imagine.
be
I
cool. So,
imagine.
yeah.
And now you and your kids, your three kids, are lucky enough to be experiencing the educational system in Finland.
Hmm.
And you're experiencing it in three layers because your three kids are in different ages.
Yeah.
Tell me more about it. I'm really, really curious to see how you're experiencing it as a parent.
Yeah. It's been such a different experience. So when we moved here, my oldest was 10. And then I had
Together.
Yeah, and a 7-year old and a 4-year old, or 3-year old, almost 4-year old. And so the youngest started in the daycare program about 6 months or so after we moved here. And then the oldest one was in fourth grade and then with second grade. So they started, one of the things I love best when we moved here was they immediately were put into preparatory education just to learn the language for a year. So their classroom was really small. It was all grades 1 through 6 from the elementary school, but it was only 12 students and they had two teachers, which was amazing coming from a US system where we were used to having up to 30 for one teacher. That was a lot, big difference. And the diversity in the classroom was amazing as well because there were immigrants from all over. So my concern had been that we would move to a place where everyone would look like us and maybe my kids wouldn't get a different perspective, but they did absolutely because even just in that first class, there were kids from all over the world. So they spent a year learning the language, focusing on that, and then slowly integrating into the mainstream classroom. There are a handful of international schools here that teach in English, but we really wanted to stay in Finland. And so we made the decision pretty early on that we wanted our kids to learn Finnish, to meet other kids in the neighborhood, to really be connected in their community. And all of those things just weren't going to happen if they went to an international school that was a drive instead of a walk to school. So that I think has been in the end probably one of the better decisions we made. It was hard at the time. But there's a lot of, I don't know, the approach is just very different here. I also took language classes when I moved here. And through that, I did a work study. And so I spent 3 weeks in a middle school shadowing in one of those preparatory education classes because my Finnish is only so great. But I can work with kids that are just learning the language. Um, and it was really eye-opening to be in a middle school. My own experience in middle school was always just waiting to see who was going to get in trouble, like who was going to act out, like how was this day going to go? Were we going to learning didn't feel like the point. It was all about the social experience and about trying to just, keep things moving forward. But coming to the middle school here, it was such a different vibe entirely. The teachers were very understanding and patient that these kids were coming from all sorts of different backgrounds. They would help them with lessons, help them with sort of details of grammar if that's where they were at, and if they weren't, it was let's just talk about your day. Let's just hear how things are going for you. And that piece of it was very relaxed. There's a lot more practical learning as well. So there's handicrafts for everyone. They do knitting, they do sewing, they learn how to use a sewing machine. My kids were sewing on my machine when they would come home from school. And that was awesome because they'd never really taken on that as their own thing. They would sit next to me maybe, but this time they were really taking the lead. They do cooking classes and then they have the academics as well. But it felt like the school felt more like a family or a community in that sense that there were all different skills appreciated and the community was coming together to learn those. So shadowing those students that I met in the middle school was really exciting as well because they were not sure what to expect. I got to start in a class where the teacher was new to teaching and the students were all new to the school all in the same day. So they all showed up together and that was like this wild experiment of how is this going to go, and the teacher just got really creative. She was given a lot of freedom to say, here are all the books you're going to teach from, but you figure out how best to get this across with your students. So we played games, we drew all over the board. She would hide in the classroom sometimes. Sometimes I would talk about things that were interesting to me. And we just sort of got to play with it a lot more. And it was lovely. So I think the fact that teachers are empowered to do more of that here and to really think creatively about how best to reach their students was really nice. Um, there's a lot of bird action going on this morning. With my own kids, the youngest one obviously has had the easiest time with the language because he started when he was 3 hearing it, and now it's his second language. When he plays by himself, he plays in Finnish, which is really, I don't know, it's impressive to me. Otherwise, the other kids have gotten to know more students in their school. Care meant that it was all play based, it's all fun. And the whole incentive for learning the language is to communicate with your friends, to make friends. So that was really big for him, and his language skills have just taken off, really impressive. The older kids, it was a bit more of a struggle to get them to speak Finnish in their classes. They would understand a lot more than they would say. And so that's been an ongoing sort of push point for them is also production of language, not just understanding. But we're getting there. They're doing very well in their classes. They're well liked by their peers, and like all of that feels really good. But yeah, what else can I say is different? Oh, kids take off their shoes at school here, which was totally different from what we were used to. So you have to bring indoor shoes that they can wear around the school, and then they have outdoor shoes, and they are not allowed to mix and match. And that was a learning experience. We didn't understand about the indoor shoes. So my kids went around in their socks for the first year, not knowing that they were supposed to also have slippers or Crocs or something. But that piece was great. They all eat lunch at school. There's no packing lunches. In the US, we would pack lunch, I don't know, 4 days out of 5. The only day my kids wanted to eat school lunch was on pizza day. And here, everybody eats the hot lunch. It's free. There's no cost to it. Why wouldn't you take them up on that? There's always different options. So if you don't like the pea soup, you can have the salad and the bread today. And then next time, if they've got the spaghetti you really like, you can have that one, more of it. So they're learning about Finnish foods as well that way. And that's been interesting to see. My husband is jealous the first year of all the meals they were coming home talking about. But um, it's a cultural practice. It's one of those things that was considered innovative in the 50s for Finland to be doing by feeding all of the students at their schools. They realized that would help the society as a whole, is if those kids were getting at least one hot meal a day at school, so that it relieves some of the burden for their parents at home. So that's been a good experience as well. Um, what else did they get?
Must have been a cultural shock for you coming from
Yeah,
the United
yeah.
States.
There have been a number
Where
of
were you
those
based
surprising things.
before you came to Finland?
We were in Portland, Oregon. So
Okay, so
yeah, Pacific
United States.
Northwest. And when we moved to Portland, it was one of those places that was billed as like great for raising families. And a lot of people were wanting to move there. And it was a beautiful, beautiful place. But there's a lot that we love about Portland and a lot that we miss. Um, but it's still it's a different society, right, than Finnish culture is. Um, Going from a country of 350, 360 million people down to 5.5 million is a big shift as well, where you start to see that changes can take place a little bit faster. You can be a bit more nimble in decision making here than in a bigger system like in the US. So it's not always fair to compare them. They're very, very different. But it is interesting to see what a difference it can make when you can build sort of um, greater buy-in for an entire society, rather than having to wait for everyone to sort of catch up to an idea that might help. So it's a different place. I'm not explaining it very well, but
You're explaining it the way it should. Like, I love the experience of because I always talk with educators in Finland,
mm, mm,
so I see their point of view. I've never spoken to a parent, and I love listening to your point of view, especially that you're a parent who hasn't seen the education system on yourself,
mm.
but you came here and you see it through your kids now.
Yeah, I
So
think, I mean, for me, the biggest difference was just that piece where they wanted to teach them Finnish and really focus on learning the language first. And when I think back to my middle son was in kindergarten in Portland before we left. And there was a girl in his class who came from somewhere in Latin America. She did not speak English. She only spoke Spanish. And there were almost no support resources for her.
of
She sat in
course,
the back of the class and she never talked. My son didn't get to know her. I asked him, "Do you know her?" And he said, "No, she doesn't speak English. I can't talk to her." And there were no allowances made to help her find her place, to help her catch up on language so that she could participate and make friends. She spent that year alone, basically. And it broke
so
my heart to think of how many students are like that in other places that never get that sort of language support. So how privileged were we to move here and have them already have a program in place, already understand the need, and meet that need very intentionally in a small class where the teacher really could pay attention to their development and carefully place them into mainstream classrooms. So,
Yeah.
one of my sons moved very quickly and the other not quite as much. And it meant that, she was able to sort of distinguish that. It gave them a little more space from each other as well to be in different classes then. Um, but she could really look at it as, okay, this son really loves art. Let's put him into the mainstream art class that doesn't require as much language. He'll learn the terminology that way
Yeah.
faster by being there with other kids doing art. Whereas, this kid really is bonding really well with one of the other students in the class. Let's keep him here a little bit longer because the two of them can work on Finnish together in a way that would be harder if you just threw him into a classroom full of other kids that he doesn't know yet. So that social piece is more important. And being able to really get to know your kids that way, I think was really impressive for me to see from a teacher. But yeah, it's been huge.
Makes so much sense, but it doesn't happen in other countries. And
Yeah.
I'm wondering what kind of education training these teachers get in Finland,
Mm.
and what we are missing out on in the other countries that we cannot distinguish and do all those things. Like, is it the support we get from the school? Is it internal? I'm
Mm.
just curious to find out more about it. And you
Yeah.
mentioned about the kid that was left behind in class. I wonder when she finally picks up on the language,
Hmm.
this social gap, how is she going to pick up
Right.
like, fill the social gap that has been
Exactly.
created because of the environment and not
Right. And
because of
those
her
kids only
fault?
know her as the quiet girl who sits in the back of the class.
Exactly.
She may not
Yeah.
be that way at home at all,
Yeah.
but now that's the role that she's had carved out for her at school because she hasn't been able to communicate.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. I mean, that's not something that just affects her kindergarten year. That's something
Yeah.
that's going to carry with her for quite a while. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's really it's really sad to think about those cases because there's nothing I can do to change that system from here,
Yeah.
certainly. And I felt as a parent, even though I was seeing it because I was very involved, I couldn't change it. I didn't know how to support that teacher in doing that. I couldn't, I don't know. It's hard to watch that.
It's a priority for me because there are hundreds of thousands of students out there who have been tagged with a different social image
Hmm.
from what they truly are just because of
Yeah.
the language barrier.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
so true. Yeah,
Yeah.
as someone who teaches English here with adult learners, even, it's so common that when you meet someone in Finland and you ask, can we speak English? They'll say, oh no, I don't speak very well in English. But if you actually get them talking, their English is perfectly fine. They all have learned it in school since at least fourth grade, but most of them since first grade. It's just that there's this shyness about using another language or a concern that they won't get it quite right. So it's interesting because now that English has become more and more useful and more necessary for work, and for life here, there's a greater interest in creating some sort of fluency in that. But yeah, I think it would influence them strongly throughout their lives if they don't seek out some of that extra help, just someone who will practice with them in a non-judgmental way, um, just getting their accent right or figuring out the right ways of talking about things. So yeah,
Even if they don't use it, in Finland they have a very good level of English.
yeah, yeah. No, it's
Right.
really impressive.
Tell me a couple of things about the feeling you have, the connection you have with your kids' teachers.
Hmm.
Like, how close are you, or how can you reach them, if it's easy or not?
Yeah, so they have an app that the teachers put notes in throughout the day. So
Mm.
I get these lovely notes from my youngest one's teachers. First grade this year, I would get notes like being brave. He he spoke first, or he did this reading aloud, and he was very brave today, and that just it melts my heart. And then other
Right?
times, what's that?
It's so specific to your kid.
Right,
It's
exactly. Or friendship skills in math class. You're like, I don't know what that means, but it gives me something to talk about within that afternoon to say, like, hey, what were you doing in math class today? Your teacher said that you were being a really great friend. How did that happen? So that piece is really nice. And that's just through an app. It's a little bit silly, but it's like it's nice just to have that quick check-in. You can see already if there's something good going on or something that you need to talk about with them.
daily, weekly.
I would say I get notes at least weekly.
When it's necessary,
Yeah,
when she
exactly.
has something to mention, not on a daily basis that she has to
Yeah, it's not
continue
a
to
requirement.
do.
And it really varies by teachers. Some teachers really only put the negative things in when there's a concern they forgot their homework or, there
Okay.
was an incident at lunch you should talk about, something like that. But other teachers really like to call out the positives, and I love seeing that. So those teachers are really great for me to work with. I mean, selfishly, I love that. But yeah,
Oh,
no, the other thing about like parent teacher conferences here is that the students come with us to those, and the teacher talks to the student first about their experience. What have you had going on? What have you learned this year? What are you excited about, and what things have been harder for you? And then they bring the parents into the conversation, and you can ask questions, and then you come up with a plan together for the next whatever period ahead. And that's not something that we had experienced before. In Oregon, the school parent teacher conferences were just that, parents and teachers, and you were talking about the progress they were making and the areas of concern, and all of those. We were lucky to have great teachers that really had an eye on our kids as well. But just bringing the students into that and having them speak first, like centering their experience before the parents' questions or the parents' anxieties about learning, I don't know. I think it makes a big difference. They feel a bit more involved and they have more ownership of their learning there because they know that teacher. And, in my youngest kid's case, he's the translator as well. So they have their conversation in Finnish and I can follow it. My husband can't. So then we're translating for him. And then the whole conversation just flows between us in a nice sort of circle because he's at the center of it all. So,
amazing.
yeah.
Amazing. That's mind blowing.
Do you not have parent teacher
I'm
conferences with kids
jealous.
in the room? Oh,
I'm jealous. Just so you know, I'm jealous
oh no.
as a parent, not as an educator alone.
Yeah, yeah. No, I feel very, very lucky. My
Yeah.
mom was a teacher, my mother-in-law was a teacher, and the kinds of conversations that they would have with parents are just so different from the ones we're able to have here because
Totally
you have more
different.
of that contact and
Totally different.
because it never feels like the student has to be the subject of the conversation without being a part of it as well. So involving them in those conversations, I think, is really, really important.
Wow. Wow. I'm super impressed
Oh, but
because I
see,
didn't
this is,
have this point of view of a parent. That's
yeah.
even more phenomenal
But this gets
about
back to
Finland.
like why I think the stuff we're doing at 100 is so inspirational is these are little things, right? Like if you grew up in Finland and that was always your experience, you wouldn't understand that this was so unique. When you look at it in an international context, or you start thinking of what are the practices we're doing that really make things work well, and when you start highlighting those, you start to see how innovative they really are because they fit into this larger system that's changing things, right?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
wouldn't necessarily have that perspective if I hadn't moved here myself as a parent. I wouldn't have even thought of it necessarily if my kids hadn't started in school and gone far enough for me to know what those conferences were like in the US. Because I didn't experience them as a student. I didn't go with my parents for those, obviously. So I didn't know what a difference that could make. But when you start to see these good ideas from somewhere else, and you think about how they could work in your context, that's when the magic happens because you realize, oh, this is actually something really cool you're doing, right? Like you're writing a book to teach kids about cultural differences and you're using the right kind of language and the right kind of references and all these pieces. And they just come out because it's a story. Doing something like that, you think you're just writing a story based on your growing up experience. But when you share that with the world, everyone else can see something else in it that you couldn't necessarily anticipate would be so meaningful for them. So I love connecting those kind of ideas for people and saying, you don't have to try this yourself, but at least know what someone else is doing because in the future, the kids that grew up with that are going to meet the kids that are growing up in your system and they're going to talk. And we want all of our learners to have access to these great ideas, right? And so how much they could benefit from doing that earlier rather than just learning later. Oh, I wish my teacher had done that. Oh, I wish my parents had thought to bring that up with them or, something like that. So, yeah.
Makes all these PISA rankings so irrelevant to this context
Hmm.
because nothing can compete that social factor and
Yeah.
emotional factor that these students are so much ahead.
Hmm.
Um, so there's no comparison.
Yeah. And
Everything
it's
else
so
is
tricky
just
because, like,
academics. And
yeah, it's hard to figure out how do we find the right measurements to be able to compare the successes of different school systems because I do think there's a case to be made that different practices are going to be relevant depending on your context, right? So teaching students that the value is getting a grade, in my mind, doesn't make a lot of sense. But it's the way I was raised. I was definitely pushed to achieve in terms of those numbers and to see that as a marker of success. But if we don't have some way of measuring that everyone can understand and everyone can like have the same markers, then it's really hard to tell how are we doing? How do we compare? And maybe comparison isn't the goal, but how do we think about learners like accomplishments in general if we don't have some sort of common language for comparing? So I don't know. I struggle a lot with assessment, right? Like how do we do this in a way that's meaningful and not just for comparing, but also for the learners to know that they have accomplished something, to come away with a sense of pride and a sense of learning. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, that would make sense. Okay, we have to wrap up because
Oh,
we can keep talking on and on for hours.
that's exactly. Oh
So
no, here come the books.
let's let's play the game. Just pick a book.
Oh my goodness. I don't know. Pick the do Untamed. I used to listen to Glennon Doyle's podcast a lot.
Okay. This is the second time somebody picks this book.
Oh, she's
Oh,
great. Yeah.
love
No, I
it.
love Glennon
Love
Doyle.
it. It's great. Give me a page number.
238.
238. Is it? Yeah.
Is it long enough? Uh-oh.
Let's see. 230. It's a blank page.
No question for me.
No question means you either say something that resonates with whatever about Glenn, or you pick another page.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let's do 138 then.
138. And this is an indicator of how authentic this game is because it's no 138. Okay, give me a line number.
10.
10. Okay, I'm going to read the context around it and then discuss how this resonates. Okay. We decided to name our daughter Patricia after my mother. We'd call her Tish. She'd be wrapped in the same olive skin, black hair, and Japanese features her older brother inherited from his dad. I dreamt of her all day, every day. I couldn't wait for Tish to be born. In fact, when I was 38 weeks pregnant, I got in the bathtub and told Greg that I wouldn't come out until he found a way to schedule an induction. He found a way. I don't know how relevant this is. Oh my God. Let me wrap up the paragraph. He found a way a few days later. I was holding my daughter when the nurse placed her in my arms. I whispered, "Hi, Angel," and then took a good look at her. I was surprised. She was pink with light skin, hair, eyes. She and I matched. Do you want to
Oh.
pick another spot
No,
or something
no, it
that
totally
resonates about
resonates
it?
with me as a
Okay.
parent because we've been talking about my understanding of Finnish education as a parent, and I think that when our kids are born or when before they're born even, we have such high hopes for them and all these expectations that we build around them. And what I have had to learn as a parent, and especially moving to a new context, is my kids are their own people, right? And they have their own interests and their own ways of learning things and their own ways of thinking about the world. And my job is to help them find their passions and pursue those. It's not to worry about, which one of the parents does he look like or, whose mind does he have? Does he think like me? No, not at all. That's not the point. The point is really to see him for who he is. And I think that that's what Glennon was doing in that moment, was meeting her child and realizing she didn't look like her brother at all. She looks like Tish. Like that's just Tish. I think that's great because, the more we can recognize that each young person is their own person and that they have their own contributions and their own potential, then the greater their life experience will be. So I don't know. Glennon always resonates. She's great.
Glenn always resonates exactly every page, every line.
Uh,
And to add up to what you were saying, the soonest a parent realizes that this is a unique kid,
mhm.
different from the other kids and different from themselves and their parents and whatever they are dreaming of creating, the easiest the easiest life this kid is going to get, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's totally the point.
yeah, yeah. All right. Thank
Awesome.
you, Megan. It was an amazing conversation once again.
Oh, I'm glad we got to laugh together this morning. Thank you.